Welcome back to my channel for a very special Leica episode. And in this Leica episode, I will introduce for the very first time a novelty, namely the Leica M EV1, and EV stands for electronic viewfinder. It looks a lot, if you look at it, like the viewfinder of the Leica Q3. And in this episode, I will tell you everything you need, you might want to know about this brand new Leica M camera, which for sure will divide the community in two camps. One camp saying a Leica M needs to have a rangefinder optical viewfinder, and one camp of people saying it's actually great that Leica offers a new option, a Leica M camera with access to the very huge, absolutely excellent Leica M lens lineup, but no more rangefinder, no more optical viewfinder. Instead of a VisuFlex in top of the hot shoe, the EVF is built into the camera body. And that is, of course, a pretty exciting episode because it marks a milestone in Leica M history. Let's kick this off. Let's get some housekeeping done first. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do so, subscribe, hit the notification bell, support my work. Many thanks for that. Second, and very important, I want to thank my friends from Leica Switzerland and from the Leica store in Zurich for making it possible for me, having this camera already weeks before the official announcement, to actually try it out, to get my reviews done, and then being early on, as of today, right after the announcement, posting my videos on my channel. Many thanks for that, guys. I really appreciate the friendship, the support, and everything we share together. And now let's go right into the topic. So I have two cameras here in front of me on the table. I have my Leica M11P Safari. That is as classical as it can get. It's a rangefinder camera, it's a Leica M camera, it's the newest one. The Safari is always an addition I love because that olive green finish is something that warms my heart and gives me really good vibes. And then I have here the new Leica M EV1. It's a pre-production sample. I was already shooting it, will post a video about my shooting, and also did already night exposures, so long exposures. It's a really good camera, it's really good in hand, and I think the idea of bringing a novelty to market where you have an electronic viewfinder built in is actually a very modern approach, but more about that in the course of the video. The difference between the Leica M EV1, which is this novelty here, beautiful camera by the way, with this black finish in front of me on the table, and my Leica M11P Safari Edition is not that big. It's really all about viewfinders. And if you look at that, this is the classical design of a Leica rangefinder, an optical viewfinder, and I show you in a moment, just as a reminder, or for those who have never shot these type of cameras, how this works. And then we have here a viewfinder which reminds me a lot in the electronic viewfinder of the Leica Q328 and Q343. Looking at the classic M11P and the novelty, the Leica M EV1 from the front side, you see there is no window here, no aperture, because the viewfinder is an electronic viewfinder, an EVF, and therefore you don't have glass on the front side of the camera. Otherwise, these cameras look kind of exactly the same. You know, you have a customizable function button here, you have an on-off switch and a shutter release button here, you have a shutter speed dial here and here. Here you have a hot shoe, here you have a hot shoe. Here you have the lens mount release. Here you have a function lever. I come to that later in the course of the video. And basically that's it. You also have a prominent red Leica logo here, but here, of course, the glass, which is constituting the optical viewfinder on the classic rangefinder camera, has vanished because we don't need that. It's an electronic viewfinder. From the back side, it's also kind of the same. We have three buttons, a viewfinder, optical, a viewfinder, electronic. We have a diopter control like we have it on modern Leica cameras. That's not here, of course, on the rangefinder side with the optical viewfinder. You can use screw-in lenses which increase the magnification or make a diopter change, so you can adapt this to your eye and whatever your eye needs to see sharp and clear. But that is not here in the way it is here, where you can just push it and then it pops out and then you control your diopter here and adapt it to the capabilities and the current state of your eyes. That's not what you have. We have a control wheel here. On both sides, we have a 4-directional control element here, and we have a button in the middle which we can push. So these cameras are almost the same. Really, the only big difference is the viewfinder. And in order to get you an idea of what this really means, I want to show you how it is to film through the optical viewfinder of a rangefinder camera like the Safari M11P here, and how you actually find focus on these cameras. And then I want to do exactly the same for the EVF of the Leica M EV1 to show you the difference. Now, filming through a viewfinder is an art by itself, and it's an art I don't master very well. I really did my best to get it done, but it is difficult and the image sometimes looks a little bit awkward in the video clip. But I tried and I hope it's possible for me to make my points. Okay, so I'm now filming through the optical viewfinder, the rangefinder of my Leica M11P Safari Edition. And I'm currently on the lens at the minimum focusing distance, which is 0.7 meter. And now I go and approach Jennifer, and you will see the double image on her legs. Look at her legs and look on the right-hand side of her legs. And you see when I turn the focus ring, how these legs are approaching Jennifer's body. And once in a while, they will perfectly match. And then I'm sharp and in focus on Jennifer. That's how it works. I can also go beyond that and basically search for focus behind Jennifer. Then this double image goes actually to the other side, and you see it now vanishing to the left-hand sides. And if I want to get back into focus, I make sure that the double image matches. Like this, for instance. Here I'm too far. This is it. And by the way, in the live view on the LCD of the M11P, I see that the focus peaking now fully kicked in when the double image matched into one image only. I'm now filming through the new electronic viewfinder, really good quality, OLED, 5.76 million dots, really cool. And you see here in the live representation when filming how crispy and sharp and nice this is. I can, of course, only manually focus. This is still a Leica M camera. And if I turn the focus ring, I actually get automatically the magnification because I've set this up in the menu. And focus peaking is also kicking in, and likely here we found sharpness. Half pressing the shutter button gives me back the representation of the full frame. And that's it. If I push the menu button, you will also see this through the EVF, and I show you. And this is really cool. It's a bright EVF, as I said, OLED, 5.76 million dots. And you can, of course, with your eye on the EVF, also steer by the 4-directional control button what you want to change here. For instance, here on the metering, I can steer this without taking my eye off the EVF, and that's actually quite nice. Half pressing the shutter button brings me back into EVF live view, and you also see the most essential information at the bottom of the frame, 1/24 seconds, ISO 100, and you see your exposure metric and scale. Everything is there. You see that focus peaking is activated on the bottom left-hand side. And in this way, you can very nicely, very precisely focus in the same way as if a VisoFlex, but with much better quality, would be built into the camera body of the Leica M. Let's turn the focus ring again. You see this is now out of focus. Then I bring it back into focus in the magnification view, which I can set up in the menu. And then the focus peaking kicks in. Here I overdid it. Let's go back. And here, Jennifer will be sharp, crisp, and in focus. Very nice. This EVF clearly is something which will make it much, much easier, in particular for younger people who maybe have not the patience, sometimes maybe have not the patience to learn how to get a double image melted into one image, like you do in the optical viewfinder on the rangefinder, for instance, on my Leica M11P. And this is so much easier, but it brings you all the advantages of the Leica M system. The lightweight lenses, the compactness of the lenses, the beauty and optical quality of the lenses, the variety of lenses, because you have a huge range to choose from in the Leica M lens lineup. And this, of course, is clearly a new, fresh value proposition Leica is bringing here to the table. All right, that's the main difference. You saw the clips filming through the optical viewfinder, and using rangefinder technique to actually find focus, filming through the electronic viewfinder to find focus, and also showing you the menu, how it appears in the EVF if I push the menu button. Now, what else do we have on that camera here? Now, this lever on the Leica M EV1 is different than the frameline lever here on the optical viewfinder on the classical rangefinder. And we have basically two directions. We have the direction here to this side and the direction to the other side. And shortly pushing it in the direction actually activates a function. And which function will be activated, I can decide when long pushing it in one direction and long pushing it in the other direction. So let me show this to you on the live view of the LCD screen so you get a feeling and your first impressions how this really works. The operation of this function lever here is visible, possible, doable through the EVF as well as through the LCD screen here. And I'm now in live view and I have my pointing finger here and place it on that lever. And now I pull it and hold it to the left-hand side. And then a menu will pop up, watch and see. Here we go. And now I can choose for the left-hand side between digital zoom, focus 8, focus peaking and off. And I will go for digital zoom. So let's confirm this. And now if I pull it to the left-hand side and do not hold it, but let go immediately, the function will be activated. Watch here, boom. This is the first digital crop, and here is the second digital crop, even more narrow into the frame. And that, by the way, all digital crops affect only JPEGs, not RAW images. And pulling it again and releasing it immediately gets me back to the full frame. The RAW files will be untouched anyway. I do it again, pull, pull and let go, pull and let go. And that's now customized for the left-hand side direction. For the right-hand side direction, it works in exactly the same way. So I push it to the right-hand side and keep holding it. The menu will pop up and now I can choose between these four settings here. I will go for focus 8. Let's confirm this. And now if I touch here on Jennifer, for instance, and place my focus field and I push to the right-hand side and let go, it will magnify the scene. Watch here. So I have focus 8 at my disposal. I push it again, it goes back to the full frame. And that's the way it works. So this function lever here is now an additional mechanical control element for certain items which are offered, and I find them in the list. And it is basically just digital zoom, focus 8, focus peaking and off. And I think that's a good additional element. It's a good way if you translate what you have here with frame lines on the optical viewfinder and the classical rangefinder camera, then this is a good way to translate it into what this lever should do if you have an electronic viewfinder. I think this is nicely done by Leica. All right, so far so good. Let's talk about specifications of the new built-in electronic viewfinder. First of all, it's an 0.5-inch viewfinder. It's an OLED viewfinder and it has 5.76 megapixel. I mentioned this already when I showed you live filming through the EVF, how this all looks like and works. The magnification is 0.76 times and we have the full spectrum of focus aids here. You just saw it with this lever here. You have magnification and you have, of course, also focus peaking. Everything is there, and the diopter compensation, the diopter control I also already mentioned. So these are the technical specifications. This is in the market one of the best electronic viewfinders you can have. I did shoot the camera already, and looking through it gives you exactly the same perfect view, colors, you know, everything you have in the Leica Q3 28 and Leica Q3 43. It's really a good EVF with a very high resolution. Talking about sensors, this sensor here is kind of the same sensor as what we have in the Leica SL3, the Leica Q3 cameras, the Leica M11P. It's a triple resolution sensor with 60, 36 and 18 megapixel. Let me quickly show you. I go into the menu here so you can see this. We go here to file format and resolution. File format, I have here DNG and JPEG, and on the resolution I can choose here between large, medium and small, and it's 60 megapixel, 36 megapixel and 18 megapixel. So the triple resolution we are used from a bunch of other Leica cameras. It's also a backside illuminated sensor. I don't think the sensor is different in any way. Very likely it's even similarly calibrated than what you have in the Leica M11P and the Leica Q3 cameras and the SL3. And it's a sensor I personally know very well because I shoot a lot of Leica cameras, and I can tell you the image quality coming from that sensor, the dynamic range, the ability to actually get nice footage in low light, and all of that is absolutely stunning and really terrific. So this sensor is something I'm used to. I like shooting and I like the image quality coming from it. The image processor we have in this camera is a Maestro 3, and we also have 64 GB of internal memory. Let me quickly show to you. Let's go here to storage. I think this is here, storage management. And then I can choose between the usual suspects here of options, and I typically go for DNG and JPEG on internal memory and SD card. And if I go back from here, you also see here that in terms of storage, we can format the SD card. We can, of course, also format the internal memory. Let's go back here. Fast and also secure, where no traces remain in the memory. And I have here a 64 GB SD card currently in it, so it matches exactly the 64 GB of internal memory. So that's also very nice. And all in, this is fully a Leica M feeling, a look and feel of a Leica M camera, except that here the front is clean without the rangefinder window, and that you have an electronic viewfinder instead of an optical viewfinder with rangefinder capabilities. The last thing I think worthwhile to mention is that the content authenticity is fully implemented here. Let's quickly go to that. If we go here to content credentials, it's currently on. Then you see I have here already filled in math photographer for copyright and produced by. And we have here the content authenticity functionality, so that you cannot edit this image without being noticed, and it will protect your ownership of images going forward if you have this activated and on. All right, so what are my conclusions? What do I think? First of all, as I said at the very beginning of this video, this will split and divide the community. I'm pretty sure. I will read it in the comments, will read it in the comments on videos from other influencers, and I've absolutely no problem with that, right? If you love the classical rangefinder and I showed you how it works, how to focus with that, then please stay with the Leica M11, the Leica M11P, the Leica M cameras I showed so many times on my channel. But if you're one of those Leica M shooters who always say they use the rangefinder for focusing, but then at the very end mount the VisuFlex 2 for having an electronic viewfinder with magnification, focus peaking, what have you, then today is your lucky day, because you won't need this accessory any longer. The new electronic viewfinder built into the Leica M EV1 is much better than the VisuFlex 2. It has higher resolution, 5.76 megapixel. It's an OLED viewfinder with super high quality, which I can confirm because I already shot this camera. And bottom line, pretty simple. It's absolutely fine that the community will discuss this. For me, this is a new Leica M option. And very likely also for younger people, it's easier to get access to Leica M photography with all the goodness if you have an electronic viewfinder and not a rangefinder. And that will hopefully help other photographers to enter Leica M photography. And why do I personally appreciate that? Well, many years ago, when I started with Leica M cameras and lenses, it did teach me a lesson about photography. It helped me to learn manual exposures. It helped me to learn manual focusing. It helped me to learn what an aperture really means and a focus ring. It helped me to learn to slow down in my photography and take time before I take a shot. And I think that's the big value proposition of the Leica M portfolio. Access to a lot of compact lenses, access to lenses with absolutely fantastic optical properties, a very dreamy look, the so-called Leica look where everyone is talking about. And the Leica M portfolio is, in all that Leica offers, Leica camera I should say, by far the best system to learn photography in a manual way. And if this option here, everyone can go still for Leica M11 or Leica M11P. But if this option here, the Leica M EV1, will help people who so far shied away from working with a Leica M camera, will help them to enter this new field of photography, which is 100% manual, then this is a good thing. Then this is something I appreciate and embrace. Then this is something I recommend. And I personally, we purchased one of these cameras because I think I like the concept of having a new hybrid where everything is Leica M style, Leica M look and feel, Leica M smell, but an electronic viewfinder is built in, which, let's admit it guys, makes focusing much easier. You saw my 2 videos how it is focusing through the EVF and focusing with the rangefinder. I'm used to it after many years. I trained it, but I made a lot of mistakes on the way. And here it's so much more easy. All right. That's it. That's all I wanted to say and show. What I will do now next is I will actually replace my demonstration lens here, which was the Aposummicron 35mm f2 by the Noctilux lens here. And that's the Noctilux M widest open 1.25 75mm. We'll mount this on this new Leica M EV1 and will shoot it over Lake Zurich. And I will do this daylight and I will do it at night. And I want to have a look into these images. We'll show them to you in a follow-up video when we discuss image quality. I'm sure the image quality is exactly the same as what I know from the Leica Q3 cameras, the Leica SL3 and the Leica M11P, but I nevertheless want to do it. I think you deserve it. I want to know it because I purchased this camera. And I want to shoot this time with 75mm, not a wide angle lens. And I think it will be pretty nice images. I'm sure about that already. If you liked that video, don't forget to drop me a thumbs up. Stay tuned on my channel. There's always more to come. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and healthy. And of course, peace out.